For latest updates and short audio clips, follow us on Instagram, Reading the Author.
Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast Reading the Author, a unique show where we read authors' mind and not their book. Meanwhile, I truly believe and pray that you and your families are completely safe and healthy as well. Today we have Sathish sir with us, author of best-selling novels Life in the Sunshine and Long Run. Thank you so much sir for coming on our show. We are highly grateful कि आप हमारे show पर आए.
Hi, Gaurav. Thanks for having me. It's my pleasure to be on your show and discuss about my books and my journey as an author. It's my pleasure.
Okay, so first of all, sir, heartiest congratulations that your latest release has become bestseller on Amazon.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was right in the early in the morning. I woke up and opened my app. Amazon app, I see that it's a bestseller, so it's a great start to the day.
Definitely, sir. So, sir, before we get into the podcast and know much more about your books, I would request you to please introduce yourself so that our listeners can know, much more about you, about your childhood, and about that, the first thought कि नहीं अब मुझे एक book लिखनी है, please share about them.
Yeah, sure. So I grew up in Chennai, right? I was born and brought up pretty much in Chennai. Mostly when I started off with very typical childhood, middle class childhood, going to school, playing cricket in the evening with friends. We grew up in a big colony, right? Those are the times all these we used to have these LIG, MIG, HIG colonies made by our housing board, the government. So we used to have plenty of kids growing together, unlike our current day and age, where people are spending too much time internally within their house. We used to be on the ground with plenty of kids, different age groups. So played a lot of cricket, lots of sports, mostly outdoorsy. Right? I did have a good education as well, but very outdoorsy. Just like very typically like people, I started reading books like Hardy Boys, Nancy Drew when I was in the 6th and 7th standard in school, and that's how my reading habit started. And during my 7th and 8th grade, I even wrote a small story, right? Very inspired by the Hardy Boys collection, right? And then at that time there was another movie by the name Vikram, which had come in Tamil, acted by Kamal Hassan. So I wrote 2 stories which were inspired by these movies and books, right? And so that's how it started. But then either none of my people around me encouraged me, or nor did I continue the pursuit. So I never wrote much after that, right? So it was essentially I continued in the beaten path, studying, getting good marks, going to college, and then doing my post-graduation, and then going on with my job and so on and so forth. So not much of a dramatic childhood or anything of interest or uniqueness, right? So if you look at my growing years, it would be very typical of somebody who would have grown up in the 80s and early 90s, right? So not much of we all belong to the Doordarshan era, and so pretty boring that way, right? So it was essentially only after I started getting exposed by traveling. Once I got into a job, I got a chance to travel abroad, spend time in the US, spend time in other parts of the world. So that's when I got exposed to a lot of the Hollywood movies, some of the books that came out, and even the reading habit I picked up because I saw a lot of people going around with books when they are in their train and bus and things of that kind. So sort of told me that I also should get into that habit, right? And then I also wrote. Started writing using Facebook, and then those were the times blogs came out. So I started blogging on cricket, right? So that's how I reconnected with my writing. And so then one thing led to the other. I started writing cricket columns in various websites and blogging about cricket, and that's when some of my father and myself thought, like, having grown up so much in cricket, I should convert whatever knowledge that I have into sort of a book, rather than a book in terms of a non-fiction. I thought I should write it as a fiction, where it will trace the lives of youngsters like me who grew up in the 80s and 90s watching and playing cricket, and how it influenced our lives and our thought process. So that's how my first book came about, right? So it's a fictional story, but many people would relate to it. People specifically who grew up in Chennai, playing the gully cricket, and then playing school cricket and a little bit of league and things like that, right? So they will relate to it, and then the 99% of those people don't make it to the next level, right? It's quite obvious. Only 10-11 people get to play in your state, and then the national level you don't even talk, right? It's such a small minuscule. So then, but still, cricket influenced my life even afterwards, right? So all my heroes, all my lessons were from that aspect. So I could relate to my career, and so that's the role it played, and I wanted to capture that in a fiction novel, and that's what I did. So once I wrote that, and then people liked it, and then it went on to become an Amazon bestseller in cricket and sports. So that sort of told me that I do have some ability to write. Right. So and then my cricket columns were also very well appreciated within my friends and family community, right? So everybody encouraged me, and then I also kind of I could see that I have some ability to write. So I just wanted to continue on from there, and then my next book came about, to write. Yeah. So that's been my sort of journey up till here.
That's quite an inspiring journey as well, sir. Yeah. Okay. So, sir, as of now, like we know that the book is released and has become bestseller as well. And by the way, I'm talking about the long run. So from a reader's perspective, like after listening to this podcast, many readers will start searching for it and wants to read it. So from a reader's perspective, like what they can expect from that book, can you share some insights?
Sure. Yeah, around the time I think 2002 or 3, I am a very avid I had my education in finance when I did my MBA. So I was keenly interested in the finance area, specifically markets, right? Stock markets and all. So I used to watch CNBC quite regularly, right? And then on that program came a person who was visually impaired, right? So a person who's practically blind, but he's working for a large bank, JP Morgan Chase or Goldman Sachs, one of those two really large international banks. And he was as a trader, right? So it's a very difficult, fast-moving, competitive environment. But somebody with a big handicap like a visual impactness could succeed, and succeed enough to be featured on a CNBC show was very inspiring. And that character sort of stayed in my mind, right? So not only for inspirational purpose, but also in terms of a very unique thing, right? So I've never seen people who are visually handicapped working in this area, right? It's my subset is very small, so obviously I haven't come across, but it was a name and a character that stood in my thought process. So when I was thinking for writing my second book, so this character came to my mind, right? So I thought, like, why can't I write a story, right, where the central character is somebody who's visually impaired, and not only that, the visually impairedness should happen after a success. The person is a normal person. He goes through college and then has a good love life, and then meets with an accident which causes this visual impairedness, and then now he has to come back in his life, right? Both his personal life as well as in professional life, to get back to the glory that he had, right? So he goes off when he starts. He's very successful. He's making a lot of money in the stock markets, and then he has this accident, right? And then now is the second half of his life where he needs to overcome the challenge of being visually impaired and then physically injured, and then overcome the reluctance of people to give him the opportunity, right? Just like how I think that how could a person who's visually impaired succeed in a environment like this in the financial markets. Obviously the people who are running companies would also have the same reluctance. How can this guy succeed in this environment? So how is he able to get through that? And also he had some challenges in terms of how he handled his success, right? Before he met with his accident, he had some relationship issues before it, right? So because success was getting to his head and he started having different priorities. So because of that also he had lost certain things. So he tries to put those things back in order as well. So there is a parallel track where he's trying to resurrect his professional career, and then he's also trying to get back to his old relations, right? Including specifically his lover Anu. So now that he's visually challenged, how is he going to put these two things together? Is the rest of the main crux of the story, and hopefully it will inspire, and it's a story of redemption, right? Where life gives you a second chance. Whatever is taken away from you, there's a second chance for you to be successful. But at the same time, the second chance may not be available for everything, right? It depends on how much you have screwed up, as it were, on the way up, right? So as they say, when you go up, be kind to the people you meet, right? Because on the way down, you may end up meeting them. So all of these things put together, right? So all these ideas put together, I've tried to strew up a narrative, right? And it's done in a non-linear way, so it doesn't go in the sequence that I say, right? So the thread starts where he's hurt and he wakes up in a hospital, and then goes on thinking of how to put his life together, and then in the another track is where right from the beginning, how did he start his life? That goes, right? So all of these go towards the end and meet at a point where a lot of the questions that you would have when you read the book will get answered towards the end. What happened to his career? What happened to his love life? And how did he put his rest of his life together? So it's a very interesting narrative, I think, right? Because it's a personal opinion.
Definitely.
And also the reviews so far from my friends and some of the third-party people who have read has been very encouraging. And the fact that it became a bestseller shows that there is good interest in the book as well.
Definitely, it's being loved by the audience as well. Yeah. Okay, so sir, it seems to be so interesting, but here's my question: like, what motivates you to write on this topic? Like, as you've shared about that businessman, and moreover, what I personally feel that you could have written something else. But behind it, what message do you want to convey, or what's your motive behind writing on this topic?
Yeah, see, as you know, last couple of years we have been going through a tough time, right? COVID. People have lost life, people have lost their near and dear, and some people have recovered but also are having long-lasting issues because of that, right? So I wanted to bring out a book which would serve as a motivation, right? So that is one idea, right? One of the key reasons. So and there is always even with COVID or not, there are always people facing challenges, right? So even in a normal life, there are people meeting with accidents, and a good flourishing life gets kind of broken down, and then now that person is left with a very challenging situation to come out, right? So I hope I would be able to sort of give a message that all is not lost, right? If you look at it positively, there are whatever be the issue, there will be some people around you, like your parents, like your sisters, brothers, your friends, who would continue to love you, whether even if you made some mistakes on the way up, they are willing to forgive you, and when you're in trouble, they will come and help you, right? It's not like they will remember that you talk to me like this.
Wrong.
So your near and dear won't hold you like that. They know that, hey, it happens. You're now in a bad situation. If we don't come and help you, who else will, right? So that's when you'll see that your near and dear kind of rally around and try to help you, right? So many times it happens that people might go into sort of a depression, thinking that they are alone and they have to face their challenges on their own. and we've seen people take very wrong decisions, right? Like committing suicide and things of that kind, without seeking help from their near and dear. And we're always there, right? Even if you make the biggest of mistakes, your parents are the first ones who will take you back, right? They will say, okay, whatever be it, it's still my son, my daughter. He will help you to come back, right? If you're truly repenting, your close friends, your wife or spouses will be quick to forgive you and help you put your life back, right? So that always remains the reason for you to sort of get up and fight the next day.
So, sir, like, as of now, I guess it's quite early to ask you, but, what's upcoming next? Like, you want to experiment in some other genres, or, like, what's in the pipeline? Is there anything in the pipeline as of now, like, after this?
Yeah, so I am thinking of a thriller, right? I want to write a thriller. That is one area which has always fascinated me, right? I used to read a lot of Agatha Christie, Sherlock Holmes kind of detective novels, and Alfred Hitchcock movies, and then quite a lot of other good thriller movies that have kind of piqued my interest. So I think that's one area I would definitely write something. Right, I want to challenge myself to think of a thriller, an out-and-out thriller, in terms of either it could be a murder mystery or some heist or something like that, somebody trying to solve. That's one. And then there are a couple of non-fiction ideas that I'm also thinking about, which I would like to sort of experiment, because I have so far written fiction. Maybe a non-fiction is something that I should try my hand as well, right? So these are two. It could be a biography of a person, or a successful company, or something like that, right? So I want to take a shot at it. So these are two genres of that I'm thinking along. We'll see. Let's see what comes out. I haven't put pen to paper. I will at some point in time. Sure.
Okay. So here's a special note for everyone who have read Long Run, that you don't have to dishearten, because Sathish and I have already planned a couple of books for you all, so you will get to see that soon.
Yeah, and then time to time I also write short stories which I'll keep publishing, and then like I said, I write columns on cricket, right? If you're a admirer of cricket, I write on this Australian sports platform named theroad.com.au. There I go by TSAT. TSAT is my nickname in school, college, and even at work. So I write with that nickname out there. So I regularly post every week. There is something or the other. So you can continue to follow me there. And on my social media, I share all of those. So you can keep reading whatever I write.
Definitely. So, sir, my next question is, like, most of the authors are working to create, a sort of impact on their readers' mind. Like, they want to be known, or, we can say that they want to be remembered as a certain genre writer. Like, they want to create a certain impact on their readers' mind. Let's say, if from a couple of years from now, if anybody, just pick up a novel, okay, it's a book by, Sathish, then a certain impact, they have in their mind, okay, it's a book by Sathish, and the book aisi hogi, something like that. So is there any strategy, is there any plan have you done, or is there any going on, that what impact like you want to create on the reader's mind, like any certain image you want to create?
See, I want to be, I don't want to be typecast, right? I really want to be experimental, pushing the boundary, as it were, right? I don't want to use such big terms, but I'm just saying, writing different, taking up regular topics which are real and people that people can relate, and not things like Inception and all those interstellar kind of difficult concepts. But I want to take up very simple, straightforward topics, but I want to approach it in a different manner, write different types of narratives, and introduce the audience to newer ways of saying the old things, right? So, as it were. So whenever somebody looks at my book, I would hope that they expect something new, right, and unexpected, some surprises, right? So rather than them saying, okay, if it is Satish's book, it will have couple of guys and two girls. There will be romance, and at the end, something will happen. They'll come back together, right? So not a typecast. I don't want them to go with expectation other than something of quality, right? Something that they will be memorable. Something that will be memorable at the end of it, and that something that will give them something to think even after the reading is done, right? So think back on what happened, the characters, or there could be some things which are not specifically explained, so that you do some research to try and understand what is it that I have left out deliberately, right? So that the audience also thinks along, right? So that's the sort of image I would want to leave, right? We can see that's the sort of brand I want to kind of build for myself. Not typecast to one expectation.
Okay, sir. So, sir, as of now, like, do you feel competitive in this industry, like a sort of neck-to-neck competition? Because, the numbers of books being published every week is, are around in hundreds, we can say. Because, the publishing has become very much easy. Self-publishing, Amazon Kindle publishing has been introduced, and many other publishers as well. Or you are someone who believes that in creativity there's no competition, every book will find its own reader and every book has their own masses, something like that. So basically, like, what's your take on this?
Hey, I am too small a author to even think about competition, right? I'm not even anywhere in the picture of guys like Chetan and all these guys, right? So I'm not even considering that, but I do think, like you said, there's always a niche that would like what you say, right? It's very difficult to think that I will write something for the masses, right? So the whole population will be able to read, and then millions of copies will sell, right? So that is a very tough thing to plan for, right? So the best way to approach it is who will like it, right? You could identify a set of people whom you can you target with a certain style of writing and certain style of topics taken, and make them happy first, right? Make them into good happy readers, people who are interested in reading eclectic topics, different genres and different approaches to a narration, right? So those are the sort of people I want to first address. And if you're lucky and like a word of mouth sort of thing spreads, and a lot more than what I have as an audience today are able to read, then there'll be a springboard, right? Whenever there is, you have to have a core from which you expand. So whatever happens, you can come back to the core and then build your stories around the core and then expand, right? Otherwise, if you are like a scatterboard, doing things here and there, thinking that something will stick and then it's not a good plan to have. You always have to have a core audience in mind, write for them, and then see if that appeals to a larger one, because we are looking at a very large population, right? India is a huge population, and even a million is a very, very small number when you compare to 130 billion.
Indeed.
1.3 billion people out there.
Definitely, sir. So as of now, do you have any particular writing schedule, sir? Like, you devote some certain hours to your writing, or it's like random? Like it happens with most people, even with me as well. If I get some ideas, I just jot it down on my diary, notebook, phone, and later on I just get on it. So like, how does it goes with you? Like, how do you manage all those things?
See, my cricket columns are regular, right? So every week, like I said, there are some matches going on. India is playing somebody here or there, so I always write. So there is a regular schedule that keeps going on. So the writing, that part is always a constant, which will be there. But when it comes to books, right, I don't. Many people say that every day you try to write some 1,000 words, something like that, right? So that you have that habit. But I do that in my mind, right? So whenever, like I said, thriller and all that, I'm already thinking about a subject, what I should have, and try to play it in my mind for a long time, right? So I leave it kind of marinating in my mind, trying to add scenes and characters and plot in my mind before I put anything into paper, right? So once I at least know a certain thread, right, and then only I start writing. So once I write very fast, right? I don't schedule it like per day I will do so much. Right? I just try to finish it as quickly as I can. Both my books I've written. My first draft has been out. Once I decided to write, it doesn't take me more than 4 to 8 weeks, right? So that's about all it takes for me to write my first draft. And it is a reasonably good draft usually, right? It's not like a randomly written things and I have to cull out a lot. So because I have done that already in my mind, my first draft is itself, at least in my last couple of books, have always been sort of really flushed out sort of first draft. And then I go to my there are my guinea pigs at home, my best friend, my sister and all. They tend to get the first copy of my manuscript. They go through it and then that's where the story develops from there, right? So that's my schedule. Like it won't be, I won't call it random. It is always a practice, but the writing is very frenetic, right? I write very fast and very a short period of time, but my thinking is leisurely, and it takes me some time before I decide to put pen to paper.
Okay, so basically, like, you shared like you primarily, we can say that reviewer or critic are your family members as well, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, sir, as of now, like we have talked about your book, about your journey, about your vision, personal branding, competitiveness, and everything. Now, coming to your personal life, can you share with us like what was the most happiest moment of your life? Like, there must be many, definitely, but if you can, share one of them with us, then that would be really great.
Yeah, the happiest life was when my son was born, without a doubt. So I think he was born more than 7 years after our marriage. So definitely, from my personal life point of view, or any professional, whatever, all put together, that's definitely my happiest point. I don't think anything can beat it.
Okay. And sir, like you have seen so many things in your life. You must have seen, lots of ups and downs as well. So, can you share like what was that an incident or a moment which you can say that was the turning point of your life? Yeah, you can say that you can never forget that or something like that. And how like how you overcome after that.
Yeah. See, in terms of my personal life, if you just look at it, the death of my brother, my elder brother, some 15 years back, 2004. That is my biggest regret and my only regret. I'm usually a very easygoing guy. I don't take too much heart into my wins or losses. Right? I know I will always come back, and I've always taken it in that spirit. Even if I go towards the end of my life, if somebody tells me what is your greatest regret, this is my greatest regret. Losing my elder brother when he was just in his 30s. That will remain the greatest regret. I don't think anything will match. Just like how my happiest moment is my son being born, losing my brother Balaji, that will remain the greatest regret of my life. I don't think anything can match it. It was such an untimely snatching of a life from our lives, which was ridiculous.
Sir, my next question to this podcast is like, do you feel stressed by releasing of your book? Like, if you came to know, okay, tomorrow my book will be released, then today evening or, today, what goes in your mind? Like, do you feel stressed, excited, or you plan something, okay, these many people know me, then this has to be, sold out this many copies in this week or some milestone, something like that. Like, what goes in your mind at that time?
Yeah, obviously excitement, right? Excitement is definitely the only thought process. There's no stress, right? I'm not competing for anything. There is no stress, right? I have very less expectations from sales and those kinds of perspective, right? Because I'm not in that kind of league where your publisher is kind of expecting, hey, we have put so much money on you, so make sure you we have to sell at least 1 lakh copies or 10 lakh copies. So that kind of pressure and all is not there on and this is So that way I'm able to enjoy the process, right? And I've also through the process of writing the book, I've already taken feedback, and many of my near and dear have already read it. So I pretty much know where it will land, right? Whether the book is good or the story is good. So that way I generally both the times I've been confident when the book was launched that even though there will be some people who might not like it, but then there will be a decent sized audience who will like the story and would be able to enjoy it, right? So ultimately, as a creative person, your greatest pleasure is in somebody reading it and enjoying it, right? So that's pretty much what you write for, and also it gives self-satisfaction having given a couple of hours of good time to whoever's the reader, right? So and then when you hear back from them that they were happy and they reminisced on something that happened in their lives, or they took some help out of it, saying, hey, this guy was a motivation for me. Those are all like a cherry on top sort of thing. That's great.
Definitely. In fact, what I personally feel, sir, if you are working on something for months and days, you have all those sleepless nights, and when it comes to world and everyone accept it with open heart, then that's the most beautiful feeling you can ever feel.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so sir, do you read your reviews, like all the reviews?
Yeah, I do.
And do they affect you, like some of the criticism or something like that, the low rating or anything like that?
Yeah, I do try to understand the viewpoint, right? But in terms of what I want to write, because I'm very sure when I produce a product, it'll be extremely well edited. It'll be of very good paper quality and all of that, right? So as long as my hygiene factors, which are bare minimum, all of that are good, I ensure that, right? So any feedback that will come from our readers is them not liking the story, right? That I agree in terms of each one's taste is different. Each one expects a different thing, because fiction is something anybody has a view on it, right? So you could also look at the story and say, yeah, you could have taken it like this, right? Ye samajh mein nahi aa raha why this guy had to decide like this. It doesn't make sense. So people could write about the character arc and things like that. People have said that, hey, this guy does not even understand what is a character arc and all of that. So my first book, one or two of them had written things like that, but that's okay, right? There are enough people who like it, and like you say, if you live old enough, you know that you can't make everybody happy, right? There are enough and more people who are happy, and big population. You'll find enough people who are happy with you. Yeah, but if it is constructive criticism, I'll always take. If it is about a story and the way it has been narrated and turned around, that's everybody has a view on those kinds of things, right? So we cannot cater to every type of style. But if there is a glaring error, if I have allowed grammatical issues and typos to go through, then those are all things that will hurt me, right? Because I measure myself to really high standards. So it will hurt me, and I will want to correct them, right?
Definitely, sir. So as of now, sir, like what's your current mental state, like as a person, as an author? Basically, what are the things which you're focusing upon in life as of now?
Yeah, so see, at this point I have multiple things going on, right? Obviously I work in a senior leadership position in a tech company, so I have responsibilities towards my organization who pay me pretty much. That's my bread and butter. And then my extracurricular interest, my hobby, my book is essentially a part-time. I'm not it's not a hobby, it's a little more than that, right? I'm a serious writer. It's only that I have two different identities, as it were, right? No. So I write and I take it seriously. I want to keep developing as a writer. Like I said, right, experiment and come out with something new in terms of the way of writing, or ideas to discuss on regular topics. I don't want it to be esoteric ideas that Christopher Nolan and people like them come out with. I want it to be very simple, very straightforward that way. And then there are other important tracks like my kids, I hope my son Prahlad, he's now just 8 years old. I want to make sure that he grows up well, finds his feet, right? He finds his liking. People like me, it took us a very long time to understand what is it that we like and what is it that we are our passions. But now that these kids have a little bit more hands-on parents, my parents and all, they just let us go. They do whatever we want. Yeah, right? We kind of just meandered in our life, and then it took us some time to figure out. Right? So hopefully I'll be able to help my kids, right? And then there's my other kiddo, my godson Anirudh. He's also deeply interested in music and in various other aspects. Hopefully I'll help. I'll play some role in his life as well, in him developing into whatever he wants to become. So these two guys are my next in priority. Obviously, my wife, she has her own career, and she also takes care of the kids, and so whatever help I can do, or at least don't obstruct her way in her success. I think that will be a job done. From
Definitely not. Okay. So, sir, my last question to this podcast is what are advices for the upcoming authors? Many people will be listening to this podcast, and they must be holding their first draft in their laptop, in their diary, or they will start writing after listening to you. So, what will be your advice?
Yeah. So, if you really are pregnant with ideas, right? The best way to do is bring it out to the world, right? That world need not be the whole world. So whatever you have in your laptop and you're shy, take it to your friends, make them read it, right? Take feedback, and I'm sure your friends will give you good feedback. Tell them very seriously that don't take it lightly. I'm serious about my writing work. Please give me constructive feedback. Everybody will be willing to work with you, right? People are always good-natured. You should believe that, and seek out help. And your close and near and dear will help you, right? If they know that you're serious, they will help you, and then give you constructive feedback on how to help. And then there are also professionals who also can help you. People who are out there who do editing and things like that, who are involved in the book production industry, and we are now able to access a lot of them through social media, or many of them even offer their services, paid services, where they will take a look at your manuscript and give you ideas, right? So you could work with them, spend some money to hire their services, work with them to polish it and make it good, right? And then apart from all these things, read a lot, right? Read good books, read good authors, classical authors from the past. You don't have to read only the pulp fiction of the today. Go back in time, read the historically famous and excellent authors like Arthur Conan Doyle, Agatha Christie, P.G. Wodehouse, and then our Indian people like R.K. Narayan, and there are lots of other books that have come through. Read and look at how they have constructed books and how they have put their thought process into written word. And Ruskin Bond. There are so many names out there. I don't want to miss. So good reading is your input, because that's always what comes out in the form of your writing. And then take feedback from your near and dear, and they will give you the right feedback. Take it, and then don't keep those ideas within yourself, right? Because it is very dangerous to hold your kid within your stomach for too long. After 9 months, it has to be delivered. So similarly, your ideas, it's not good because it will fill you with regret, and later on you say, "Yaar, मैं भी वो कर लेता इसकी तरह, इतना अच्छा idea था मेरा," right? Don't have regrets, right? Life filled with regret is not good, right? It's in your hands. In some form or the other, just let it go, right? Even now, more than ever, like you said, right? There are self-publishing platforms. Nobody stops you. You can put in as long as it is a decent. You're not writing vulgar things and anti-national things,
offensive,
right? Yeah, offensive things. As long as it is decent, put it out there. Then just get on with it, right? Whoever likes. Who doesn't like, even if you are the only person who likes it, who cares? It's fine.
Definitely. Okay, so that's all for today, guys. I hope you must have enjoyed this episode, and if you do, then do follow our podcast, Reading the Author, available on all the leading podcast platforms. And don't forget to buy and read the book. Just Amazon पे जाएं, वहाँ पे सर्च करें टी सतीश, सर की सारी बुक्स आ जाएंगी. ज़रूर खरीदें, पढ़ें और अपने जानने वालों के साथ, चाहने वालों के साथ ज़रूर शेयर करें. Thank you so much, sir, for enlightening us with thoughts. It was truly our honor to host you today.
Hey, Gaurav, thank you very much for having me. It's my pleasure speaking to you. I don't know how the 45 minutes went. It was very engrossing discussing with you, sharing my thoughts. And like you said, the viewers and listeners, please listen to the podcast. Gaurav will bring along the great authors, much better than me also, later on. Please listen to his podcast and encourage him. And same way, don't forget to try out some of our books. Who our author comes later, earlier, and myself. All of them are available on Amazon. Very easy to purchase. They're very light on the wallet as well. It's not expensive, right? So please encourage us and give us our feedback, reviews on Goodreads and Amazon. Really, we look forward to reading all of that. It serves as an input and guidance for us for the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.